Hey everyone, how's it going? Shuffle's back here with another video, and it is tier list time. I know you guys have been waiting for this one for a while, but as promised, I wanted to do an entire remake of it from last month. What we are doing this month is I have all the 4 stars on this list, and I actually said that I wasn't going to do the 4 stars. I wasn't going to do all the 4 stars, I was just going to do some of them. But then as I started, I was like, well, I'm almost there anyway. So we may as well just jump right into this. This did take a ridiculously long time to remake all these thumbnails and make it all work. So please consider dropping a like down below if you did like this video and it did help you out. Otherwise, let's just jump right into it. So for starters, we have Crazy Eyes, otherwise known as Quazu. Um, and we have Benevolent Roman right beside her. These two I didn't rate yet this month. I haven't really seen anybody use them yet. I don't really have like a full opinion on them yet. So I decided not to actually rate them yet this month. That being said, they are both quite good, it looks like, but we'll have to see kind of as things go on. So moving over to the D rank, I'm going to actually rip through the C's and D's relatively quickly because there's really not much to say on them. We have Zeno and Zerato for water, and really neither of them have a use. Everybody in this D rank, at least at this point, doesn't really have a place in the game right now, or a use just yet. So we've got those two for water. Moving on to fire, we have Saul. Saul is actually really good in Golem, but so is everybody else. So really there's no use to build him unless you're really early game and you just happen to have him already 6-starred and ready to go. Then you may as well use him because he's one of your first 6 stars, but otherwise there's really no use for him. Corvus was good on defense, but he's since been nerfed to the ground. That nerf kind of just makes him not useful anymore, because that was the one thing he did well, was sustain, but he can't do that anymore. Uh, Here's another one that would be great for Golem if you need somebody for Golem, but other than that, he doesn't really have a place. It's just his heal block. He does have some self-sustain, so early game he's really good, but beyond that, he just doesn't really have a place anymore either. Maya, I thought, wait, he's Kawazu and she's Kawana, right? Something like that. I can't even read the names, they're too small. Anyway, and Mercedes all really have no place in the game at this point. Moving on to Wind, we have Cartuja and Leo. Same thing. They really don't have anywhere that they can be used. Regular Cartuja is actually a lot better than he was. I just don't really know where you would use them. There's just better units that could be used at any real point there. So let's just move on to the C rank, where we can kind of get units that are a little more useful. So units in C rank are going to be units who are good, but there's just better in every slot. So starting with Kali, great single target water nuker. Like I said though, there are better out there, but if you're early game or if you just want to build a fun water nuker, you can use her. Same thing with Clarissa. She is not single target. She has 2 AoEs, 1 passive and 1 with her skill 3. And she has a defense break, so she's amazing for Wyvern. But again, there's just better defense breakers out there. Her percentage isn't overly high. And normally when people use her for Wyvern, they turn her skills off anyway. So that kind of eliminates her skill 3. Crozet, another one. He's fantastic for Wyvern again as a tank. But there are better tanks out there with Crow and Tywin and pretty much everybody else. So keep that in mind. Same with regular Roman. He actually just got another buff. They keep buffing him, wanting him to be useful, as he is a strip. He could potentially be higher on this list, but as you'll see later, there's another stripper who kind of rules the day, and with him being so good, nobody really uses Roman. Then we have Dominielle, and Dominielle has a very interesting passive in that she has damage reflection, which is very strong, and can be really annoying, but it's really hard to use and is very niche, so I kept her down at C rank. Moving on to fire, we have Charlotte. Now, I've toyed with the idea of using her and moving her up on the tier list because I do think she's good. I think she'll be really good for RTA. That being said, I haven't seen any, and I don't know anybody that uses her anywhere other than Raid. And although you can use her in Raid, there's just better. So I think she's actually one of the units that I think needs a buff. Speaking of people who I think need a buff, I would say Araminta is another one. Um, she already got a buff. She got a stun on her skill 3, but it's only 50%. And if you're looking for CC, you wouldn't use her. If you're looking for damage, you wouldn't use her. There's really no point where she is the most optimal pick. Moving on to Dingo. Dingo actually, I debated moving him up because he's actually really good. He really, honestly, just annoys the hell out of me. You could consider him a B. He's probably better than this, but his animation is just so annoying, and I hate his character art. But yeah, I don't know. If you guys like weird, annoying bruisers, he's your guy. Moving on to Cirilla. Cirilla's another one. Another really good single target damage dealer, but there's just a lot better out there, as you'll see in the oncoming tiers, even in Fire. So, yeah, you could make her work, but probably not ideal. Same with Ludwig. He's a great cleaver. I know a lot of people use him. I know YDCB uses him a lot. Um, I've even seen people try and use him in RTA so far. But he's kind of niche. He doesn't work everywhere. And if you're going to put your best gear on somebody, why not put them on someone that's useful in more places, right? So that's why I have him down at C tier as well, right beside Silk, who is somebody who's free to play and gets ignored a lot, but she's actually quite good. She has a speed buff and a speed slow, or an enemy slow with an AoE, and she can do okay damage. But I mean, really, there's just things you could use that would probably be better in that slot. And then our first ML on the list is Leo, ML Leo. So ML Leo is a bomber, and I feel like he could have a use in RTA if you force it. That being said, it's kind of with no detonators out there or no way to reduce his cooldown and get his bomb to explode right away. I don't see it. I don't know how you're going to make him work, and why not do something different. Um, I think he'll have potential later on as more units get introduced, because I'm sure they're going to introduce somebody who does detonate, so I think that'll make him better. But for now, he just doesn't cut it. Actually, I was looking at her because her third skill does have this weird thing that has like this bomb exploding, and she doesn't have a bomb. So maybe they turn her into like a detonator for him. I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, moving on to the B rank. This is where units start to get really good. I know it says only B rank, but there's just a lot of really good units in this game. So this is where units start to get legitimately useful, and these are units you should consider building. So first up, we have Furious, and Furious is one of the best Wyvern defense breakers in the game. Beyond that, he does nothing, and you probably won't use him anywhere. But if you're looking for a Wyvern defense break, and normally if you're building a Wyvern team, you would want 2 damage dealers, a defense breaker, and a tank or a healer, or some combination like that. You might even go 1 damage dealer, a tank, a healer, and a defense breaker. He could be your defense breaker. Speaking of defense breakers, Kareen right beside him basically fills the exact same role, so odds are you wouldn't do both. There's no reason to run both of them in the same team or build both of them. You would build one or the other. Either one of them would be a fantastic choice for there. Up next, we have Sez, and Sez used to be one of the top tier cleavers in the game, similar to Ludwig down here, but he didn't get a nerf, but Windrider got a nerf, and people just don't really use him much anymore. If you are looking for a hard-hitting AoE damage dealer, he can be your guy. Throw him in with a defense break, and he'll give you some splash damage after his original attack, and it can actually do really, really, really big damage. So if you are looking for an AoE damage dealer or a cleaver or a farmer, you could build him. Up next, we have Yuna, and Yuna is very interesting. She did get exclusive equipment recently, and it's very good. It gives her extra base speed, which is amazing, and she has a speed buff and an attack buff, which for units like Sid would synergize very well together. She's not easy to use in terms of creating like a team that works well together. She is very good for automaton tower speed clears if you want to use her for that. But she's not the easiest unit to use, but she is fun to use. So consider using her um, for any of those things. And then Rose is our final one for water in the B rank. Rose is fantastic for Wyvern. Again, she can be used as your Wyvern tank. She has an attack buff. She has a boost. I do see her even still a lot in Arena and sometimes in RTA as well. She's a very interesting kit, especially with her exclusive equipment, and she's worth checking out. Moving over to the fire units, leading things off is Sirmia, and she's always one of the most contested units on this tier list. She's always one of those units that people think should be higher. But again, she's really just a one-trick pony. She has her one-shot capability. She can do it twice, which is interesting, which is why she moves up from C rank, and she's better than somebody like Cirilla. She does do bigger damage if you have her skilled up, and I know people use her in a one-shot A11 team, and I know some people use her in Guild War as well. She's good. She does big damage, but being fire, she kind of gets punished a little bit. If she was any element other than fire, she'd probably move up into the A rank. But I just can't justify it being fires. You can't really use her in PvE anywhere. She's really just useful as a one shot. Moving on to Melissa. Melissa is another one. She kind of fits in the same category because she's very niche. She's very good at what she does with the curse. It's very interesting. I use her personally on my baby account with Specimen Says. So I stun somebody, then curse somebody else with Melissa, and then delete them both. I actually want to put out a video on that. I just completely forgot about it, to be honest. But again, very niche, but very good at what she does. Similar is Lidica. Lidica is... I actually considered trying to use Lidica in Arena because her base speed is so insanely high, and now her skill 2 can strip. But I tried to make it work, and she's just not the same as ML Lidica. ML Lidica does the exact same thing, except only strips one buff, but she boosts everybody else. The boost of the rest of your team is what makes ML Lidica good. Yes, regular Lidica has better base speed and can strip 2 buffs, but she doesn't have the boost for the rest of your team. So you could pair her with Cdom, but then beyond that, she doesn't give herself an extra turn, and she doesn't boost the rest of your team, so she just doesn't synergize quite as well. And because regular Silk is out there, who we'll talk about in a little bit, regular Silk is just better because her skill 3 is her most important skill, and her skill 3 has a strip, whereas Lidica's does not. Now, moving on to Shuri and Surin, they're both here for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they have incredible speed imprints. They have the 2 best speed imprints in the game at 14 speed. So for Guild War and for Arena and for RTA, if you're looking for a speed imprint, they are the 2 most dangerous, hands down, in terms of speed imprints. Shuri provides speed boosting for the rest of your team, or CR boosting, and Surin provides debuffs and some damage. So I didn't want to put Shuri ahead of Surin because they kind of just do different things, but I think realistically they're both just there for their imprints. Moving over to Wind, we're going to start with Rin. Rin is actually the only, at least as far as I can remember, the only Soul Weaver that has a defense break. So that makes her very interesting. You could try running her a couple of different ways with a few different artifacts to try and get her to heal a little bit more and still have the defense break. That's kind of why she's in there. I don't personally have her built, but she does have a lot of potential even though she is rather niche. Moving on to Purgis. Purgis is one of those units who people kind of ignored for the longest time. And now all of a sudden he's popping up all over the place on Arena defense. Purgis, if you have him on a revenge set, he that combined with his passive gives him like a 70% chance to revenge, which is ridiculous. And you know how a 20% chance feels like it procs 50% of the time in arena? Well, 70% chance actually procs 100% of the time in arena. So I've gone through fights and I fought the guy twice because I lost, and I did 4 AoEs and he revenged every single time across 2 fights. So he got 8 straight revenges and ended up wiping my entire team. So it's he's a little bit scary for arena defense if you don't have the right team to counter him. So consider him. Other than that, he's very, very niche. You won't use him anywhere else. Up next is Lots, and Lots, similar to Oxlots, has the full attack bar boost, which is amazing. He also has heals, which allow him to be useful in PvE if you want to use him in PvE. A little bit niche there, but I know a lot of people will use him paired with Oxlots to do like a double booster nuke. So if you would run like, usually with Sirmia, so you'd run like Oxlots into a nuke, and then you'd run regular Lots into Sirmia, and you'd kill 2 people, and then you're down 4v2, and hopefully can deal with it from there. Other than that, I don't see much of a use for him, but he is good for that. And finally, from Wind, we have Armin. Armin is a great tank. She did get new exclusive equipment. Again, another one. This whole tier is very niche, but very good at what they do. She's a bit of a stun bot in that she stuns regularly with her skill 1. Having that skill 1 crowd control for Guild War is really strong, and I know some people do take advantage of that. Moving on to Light, we have Fighter Maya. Fighter Maya is a very hard-hitting damage dealer that only does her very hard damage when the enemy is low HP, in which case you're probably going to kill them anyway. I like Fighter Maya. I plus 15'd her on my baby account, and I do use her. I like the fact that she's defense-based. I like the fact that she can self-cleanse. I like the fact she provokes with her skill 1. But I feel like she's very niche and just for Guild War without really any other uses, so she falls into that B rank. Guider Aether is kind of the meme unit of the game right now, especially with the new skin that came out for regular Aether. But she moves up this list mainly because of her exclusive equipment, and I actually know somebody that's been using her in Legend Arena, and I won't get too much into the team because I'll probably show it in a video later on. But as a mage with an AoE attack buff and decent damage on her skill 3, she can actually be not too bad. She's also very good early game for PvE, as you can run a nuker that also has some team sustain, which is very nice. Keep in mind, though, that she is very, very squishy. Now, moving on to the dark units, I'm going to start with Crozet. Crozet's another one, very niche, very good at what he does. He's similar to Belina in that he kind of changes the balance of your tankiness on your arena defense. Although he is very hard to kill and he can be very annoying and he can make the rest of your team very hard to kill, as long as you don't just jump into it not knowing what you're doing, you'll be fine. So he's basically an annoyance more than anything, and that's why he doesn't move up higher on the list. Coming back to Corvus, he's probably the second one on the list where I think people are not going to like his ranking. I can't stand Corvus. I really think he needs a buff. I think he's by far the worst ML in the game. Worst ML 5-star in the game. And especially now with RTA, where he doesn't really have a place in RTA either. Because he's HP based and HP decreases over time, and you can just ignore him until his HP is decreased. I don't know where he is supposed to be used. I know a lot of people swear by him in Guild War, and I just think he's not the most optimal pick. You could pick something that would like clear it eventually if you wanted to do it that way. Like I could pick 3 healers and do the exact same thing as what he does. There's probably something, if you stopped and thought about it, there's something that's just more optimal to get the job done than tanking it out with Corvus. And he has no other place other than that. So Yes, he's very good at what he does. He has one-shot capabilities. You can you could tam Izaria, I guess, into him and get a if you want to wait for the burn and try and make it work, but it's just way too slow for my liking and doesn't suit my playstyle at all, and I really think he needs a buff. All right, moving on to the 8 rank. Things start to get interesting here. We are going to start off with 3 fantastic Wyvern nukers. Chloe, Luna, and Kize. All 3 of them are fantastic for Wyvern nukes. They can be your damage dealers there. They can also be very good in Guild Wars as well, all 3 of them. I used to have Chloe ahead of Kize and Luna, but Kize's new buff with her shield to keep her in stealth longer, I think could be interesting for PvP. I haven't seen anyone really try it yet, but all 3 of them are fantastic nukers and top tier in terms of what they do. Angelica, in terms of healers, she is, I think, the number 3 or number 4 healer on this list. Fantastic kit. She has immunity. She has a shield. You can burn into it to make it 4-turn immunity, which is crazy. Especially earlier on, she is one of the best units in the game. Now with Monty, she's kind of taken a little bit of a step back because she's not mandatory anymore. She used to be pretty much a mandatory unit to have at one point. Not so much anymore, but still very, very, very strong and one of the best healers in the game. While I'm on the subject, I didn't put the 3 stars in here. I think what I might do next month is add the 3-star specialty change units. I won't add the rest of the 3 stars, but I'll at least add the ones that have specialty changes because I feel like they're at least equivalent to 4 stars. Moving on to Fire, we have Fire Ravi, and Fire Ravi has been changed a bunch of times, and I feel like she should probably, or she was in the past anyway, down in this group with all these B units. But now with RTA, I think she gets a slight buff up because she is going to be good in RTA. She is a tanky bruiser, which is exactly the meta, and she fits right into there. Moving on to Cecilia. Cecilia with her AoE, AoE Provoke, I think is going to be very good for RTA as well. She used to actually be higher. I used to have her at double S on this tier list, but with the emergence of Lilius, she's just kind of taken over the fire tank role. She would still be very good though if you don't have a Lilius when you're coming into things where there's like a Basar or something and you want to counter Basar. She is a fantastic option and a great tank with great base stats and does decent damage as well, so don't sleep on Cecilia. So on the same tier I think as Angelica is Acades. She might, I don't know, you could argue which one was better, which is better. I really like Acades' kit. I think a lot of people sleep on her, and I think she just is really, really strong. She has a cleanse, she's got invulnerability, and she's got a skill cooldown reduction. All in all, she can turn cycle incredibly well because she never technically has to use her skill 1. I've actually been debating building her up for RTA as well. I think she'd be a fun free-to-play unit for RTA. Moving on to the wind units, we have Balina, and Balina just got an exclusive equipment in as well, which kind of makes her relevant again. She had really fallen off, and people had stopped using her, but now with her defense break 100%, or you can make it so she team cleanses, you can make it so she does a lot of stuff. All 3 of her exclusive equipments are really, really strong, and I think she definitely has a place now, with especially in PvE with her big damage on her skill 1 to bosses. You could see her getting used a lot more now. Moving on to Baiken. Baiken, great single target damage dealer for certain things. I know people use her for PvE to one-shot A11 and for Banshee. And I know people use her in Guild War to one-shot tanky water units as well. Probably best in slot as the hardest hitting wind damage dealer. Single target damage dealer anyway. Up next we have Lilibet. Lilibet is one of my favorite units in the game. I love this girl. She is the perfect A Vildred counter. Just comes in, nukes Vildred dead, don't have to worry about it. Also with all the revives now, with Ravi and with with Maid Chloe and with Ruel and Shooting Star Katie's and A Vildred. She's just a great unit for that. She's a little bit niche in that if there's no revives, there's no point bringing her in. And she's a little bit slow, but she hits incredibly hard, and I love using her. She's really, really, really strong. Moving on to the only 4-star from the win units on the A rank, we have Sid. And I really enjoy using my Sid. I know he's very 2018. People used to use him when the game first came out, and he's kind of fallen off, but he's still crazy strong. He's got a defense break on his skill 1, and it's 100% defense break, and he can proc Dust Devil into that defense break again, and it hits so hard he can just delete anybody. Like if you attack into a Ruel and you defense break her, and then Dust Devil proc, you can delete her in one turn, and that's a pretty good chance to be able to delete a unit like that. So definitely don't forget about Sid. He's insanely strong, and he's got a really good speed imprint. We talked about that down here with Shuri and Surin. That 10 speed imprint is really, really important, and I have actually been using him in higher level RTA as well as Guild War. Moving on to the A units. First up, we have Watcher Shuri, and I think you're going to notice a theme. We have a lot of one-shot units in this A rank. You could argue that Watcher Shuri could be higher. He does have a speed imprint. He does have potentially the hardest hitting single target nuke because it is a 100% ignore defense nuke. But I just couldn't justify putting him up any higher. I do really like him and I use him. I've been using him in RTA as well in sort of like a quick clear RTA comp. I don't want to call it a cleave, but it's been working very well, and I do really like him. You can also use him for one-shotting different bosses like A11 and Banshee as well. Beside him, we have ML Era, and ML Era unfortunately underwent her big nerf, and she kind of fell off quite a bit, and I had her lower on this list before RTA came out. I moved her back up because she is the only 100% CC unit in the game. And the fact that she's the only one with a 100% chance to crowd control, I think makes her at least relevant for RTA. Speaking of which, that's why we have ML Ball right beside her. They both move up a notch into this A rank just because they're so good in RTA with their CC capabilities. And I think CC in RTA is going to be huge, so they move up into the A rank. Beyond that, they don't have a ton of uses. Although I have actually never finished Legend Arena without ML Ball in my defense. He's been on my defense every single time I have, and I've also seen him popping up a little bit more recently on Arena Legend defenses. So there is that. Moving on to the 4-stars, we have Silk. And we talked about her earlier when we talked about Litica in that she does have an amazing skill 3. Her skill 3 is incredible. It has a strip, it has a full attack bar reduction, and it silences the enemy all in the same turn. Also, she has like 128 base speed or something like that, one of the highest base speeds in the game, which means if you just want to take first turn, throw her in there and she will do that for you, and she'll reset that unit that you don't want to get a turn, and the fight's pretty much over from there in certain situations. So a little bit niche, but when she's needed, she is fantastic. And mine is only 5-star. She's actually good in raid though. She's in my raid comp with like a 46 morale camp. So yeah, you can use her in multiple places. Moving up next is Dingo, and I moved Dingo up on this list because I had him originally at like a B rank, but I moved him up to an A rank because of RTA. I think he's so multifaceted. He's got the heals, he's got the invulnerability, he's got the attack buff, and he can do decent damage that I think he has a lot of potential for RTA, even though I haven't really seen him there yet. But I'm sure he'll show up at some point in the future once people start experimenting a little more outside of just their ML Nat 5s. Moving on to General Purges, we have a unit who has a great crowd control capabilities, and he has an attack buff, all in the same one. Incredible for pairing with Specimen Says. He can stun 2 units and attack buff the Says all at the same time. Not to mention he has attack bar boosting capabilities for your entire team. You can use him in Wyvern, you can use him in Guild Warrior, you can use him on defense, you can use him on offense. Um, Very well-rounded unit, and I really like him. Moving on to the dark units, we have Spectre Tenebria, and she was one of those units who I had down at the same rank as Corvus. We had Corvus, we had Tenebria, we had ML Era, and we had Sage Ball, all down in that B rank last time I made this list. But she moves up as well for the same reason, just because she is so incredibly strong in RTA. Um, Honestly, I might even have to move her up higher than this. I just want to give RTA some time to kind of sink in and see what happens with the meta. But she's insanely strong for RTA. Her burn is also insanely strong. Um, the more I think about her, the more I feel like she should be moved up this list. But we'll give it until the next list before I move her up too much. Moving up next, we have ML Rin. ML Rin is insane. So she's so good in RTA. She's so good in Guild War. She's not good on auto, but for those two places, she is just incredible. She has AoE immunity. She has insane base speed. She can steal debuffs. Throw her up, like if you're facing, for example, a Maid Chloe who's super meta in RTA right now, just bring in Rin and steal the 3-turn attack buff and revive buff and put it on your entire team. It's like bringing a reviver into your team, but she also has immunity on top of it. It's just crazy. So don't sleep on Rin. If you see Rin in RTA and you have a lot of buffs, you could be in for a difficult fight. Up, whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. Up next is Kitty Clarissa, and Kitty Clarissa is another one similar to Lilius. She's very scary. She has the cleanse, she has the strip, she has a team up on her skill 1 a la Lilius, and can be really strong. I haven't seen her used very much, but I really, really like her, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her a little bit more in the upcoming months. Up next, we have Shooting Star Acades, and Shooting Star Acades was my first reviver that I summoned, and I used her a lot. And I think because burns are a thing in RTA, you could see her there as well. She does need to be she does need to be used on manual, so she's not very good on auto, so which makes her not good for defense, which is why she's not higher on the list. But she's very strong with her skill prevent. I use her a lot with Kickrat actually in Guild War when you face like a team that I faced recently was, I think it was Ruel with Collie and ML Ken, and I just brought Kickrat in and her, and I just put up invulnerability on Kickrat and just let them hammer into Kickrat. Kickrat just kept revenging them and eventually wiped the entire team. Up next, we have Fat Cat, and Fat Cat's another one that could be higher on the list, but I don't know. People use them, and I've tried using them, and yeah, people skip him a lot, I guess, or don't want to attack him a lot because you could possibly lose. But it seems like he's just an annoyance more than anything. I don't feel like he's really the problem, so I don't really want to move him too much higher on this list. Just because I feel like he doesn't really get a lot of wins, he just gets a lot of I hate fighting fat cats. That being said, he does pair very well with ML Robbie and is good for RTA, by the way. Up next, we have Assassin Sid. And Assassin Sid, you could argue he should be higher. You could also argue he should be lower. He's kind of similar to a lot of the units in the B tier in that he's very niche. You bring him in situations where you don't want the enemy to burn into you, and that's really it. So incredibly niche. That being said, he does have insane base speed, and he's the only unit who does what he does. So I did move him up from the B rank, but I can't justify moving him any higher just because that's all he does. Up next, we have Shadow Rose. Shadow Rose is actually somebody who I just started using again for a A11 speed clear. I really like Shadow Rose, and I think she could be very good for RTA as well. She's a booster. She's got a defense break. She's got a strip. Um, all in all, I think she's got a solid kit, and I think she could be making a comeback in RTA, especially if she ever gets an exclusive equipment. Look out for her. All right, moving up to the S ranks. Let's actually move this right up here. All right, first up, we have Dizzy. Now, Dizzy used to be triple S on the list, and then we moved her down because Bellama kind of took over her role, and now she's not allowed in RTA, which means I feel like a lot of people have started taking gear off of Dizzy and allocating it elsewhere. So I moved her down one just because of that, and I feel like she's not quite as relevant as she was before. You will still see her a lot, and she still is going to be the Abyss Queen, but beyond that, you can't get her anymore anyway, so I think you're just going to stop seeing her altogether. Next, we have Dian, and Dian is insanely strong. You could argue she should be higher on the list. She's a crazy kit, and I think as people start building her again, you'll see her a lot more, and she could actually move up this list. I think she'll be great in RTA as well. She is an insane kit, and I think people that build her, people who didn't have her before and just summoned her, are really going to like her. Next, we have Lulu, and Lulu is probably the only mage that has team sustainability capabilities. She has the defense buff and the shield. I really like her. I think she's got a lot of potential. You can use her in raid, you can use her in PvP as a defense break and kind of a semi-stall to keep your team alive long enough to kill the other team if you're not killing them right away. She does a lot of things. She's a very well-rounded kit for a mage, and I really like her, and she's water. Up next, we have Elena, and Elena is I believe, the highest pure healer on the list, tied with Destina. So Elena people kind of slept on her when her banner came out, and she has been pretty crazy since coming out, and she's on a lot of people's arena defenses. So look out for her. She doesn't really have all that much place anywhere else, but if you're coming into in RTA, if it looks like you're gonna get cleaved, she's a great pick as well. So that combined with the invulnerability make her very strong and definitely worth building. Moving on to the fire units, we have Fire Ken, and Fire Ken is good. I think once people change his gear a little bit, he'll be very, very, very good for RTA. He's already insane for Guild War. Um, I think they will have to adapt his gear a little bit for RTA because you don't want to just build him pure HP for RTA. But other than that, he's got a crazy kit. He's got defense breaks. He's got damage, and he's very tanky, which make him the prototypical RTA unit. Moving on, we have Tenebria. And Tenebria is another one. She's been buffed so many times, and now she has this insane kit that has no real place in the game because she's a fire unit. But now with RTA, she's actually getting a lot of play. So she got a defense break, she got a slow, she got two AoEs, um, she's got a AoE sleep as well. She's very, very scary, and her skill 1 can also sleep and boost her own attack bar, which is crazy. So keep her in mind if you're looking for a really scary damage dealer. Obviously, being fire, you can't really use her anywhere else, but you can use her there, and you can use her in arena too if you want to. I've been using her as my extra mage in my Bizarre Tywin comp, so very strong unit there. And let's actually skip over a couple, and we're going to talk about Ball next because he's very similar. He's almost got the exact same kit in that he does have two AoEs. He does have an AoE slow. He does have, but he has a heal block and he has a heal block and a defense break and a slow, and she has the defense break, the slow, and the sleep. So very, very similar. They're both insane right now. I know a lot of people don't like him just because of his kit, or sorry, just because of his character art, but he's on the same level and very, very strong. Coming back to Kayron, I've seen a lot of Kayron in RTA. He counters a lot of things in RTA because you can ban Kayron counters, and then if you're squishy, he can solo you, and if you're tanky, he can silence you or nuke you or whatever, and he can be a real pain. So if they build their team around Kayron, you might want to consider banning him because he's crazy strong. In terms of uses anywhere else, he doesn't really have any. Um, he is kind of niche in Arena and in Guild War. I know some people have been building him crazy fast. I've run into like some 260, 270k runs that have actually outsped me, and people are using him on defense to try and counter Basar. If that Basar is on immunity, though, then if he's that fast, he probably won't kill. But other than that, he is very good for RTA, so look out for him. And the last unit for the fire units is Tamarin. Tamarin is one of those units who's kind of polarizing. She's very, very good for raid. She's not really good anywhere else. I know a lot of people really like her for arena, but people have finally stopped using her there for the most part. She's absolutely terrible on defense, probably the worst defense unit in the game, and can't really be used in RTA, mainly because you have to run her with Izaria, and people are just going to ban the Izaria, and then the Tamarin's useless. So I can't justify bringing her any higher than this, especially now that RTA is out. But that being said, she's still a very good unit. She's fantastic for PvE. She's still top tier for raid. She's top tier for Abyss, and she's top tier for Hall of Trials. So she gets an S rank on this list. Moving on to nature, we have Vildred. So we're going to start with Vildred. He has an insane speed imprint, plus he has a great AoE, similar to Sez. He's kind of like Sez, that he can proc into an extra turn, except he also has a speed lead, which makes him much more useful, and he AoEs on his first skill before and after. So I just think that makes him way better, especially in terms of like arena offense comps, because you can use him as your cleanup unit if you go, say, Oxlots into Judge Kize, and then Cdom into your Vildred, and the entire team is dead. So very strong, regular Vildred. Up next, we have Yufine. Yufine is quickly becoming one of the more popular units in the game again. Her exclusive equipment kind of reminded people that she exists. Myself included, I loved her when I first got her, and I used her religiously. And then I kind of stopped using her until her exclusive equipment came out, and now I'm using her again. She's a fantastic Bellina counter. If you're having a hard time with Seaside Bellina in Guild War, Yufine's your girl. Just Oxlots into Yufine and snipe the Bellina, and then pretty much game over from there. She's insanely strong. She can also burn into her skill 3, which gives her an extra turn, so she can use her skill 1 to defense break, or she can use her skill 2 to self buff and AoE strip silence, which is crazy. All 3 skills do good damage if skilled up now too, so make sure if you're going to build her, invest in her with her skill ups, and she will return the favor and make you really, really happy that you did. Also, before we move on, she can also be used in a one-shot Banshee or one-shot A11 team as well. Moving on to Vivienne. Vivienne is a very strange unit. She's a mage that has a skill 3 that doesn't attack, which is very unique. That being said, her skill 3 is also very strong. It has a 3-turn attack buff and 3-turn immunity. So yeah, she's squishy, which is weird to have that kind of a skill on a squishy unit, but it's just so strong. Using her in RTA can be super scary. She can also, I know a lot of people are using her in A11 speed clears because she doesn't burn her AoE on the first turn. She'll buff, and then she can clear the second wave with her AoE. So she definitely has her uses. I moved her up because of that. And her skill 2 can actually hit really, really hard, and it chain procs every time it kills somebody. So kind of look out for her in RTA. It's going to be interesting to see if people start using her there. Up next, we have Destina. And Destina, I think, is potentially the best pure healer in the game. I really like Destina. She's got an AoE cleanse, which also attack bar boosts with a big heal. She's got another heal on her skill 2, which attack bar boosts, and she's got a heal on her skill 1. Her exclusive equipment is fantastic. She's got, if you use her cooldown reduction, she can keep up with any of the debuffers in the game. She's really, really good. And she happens to be the opposite element of Seaside Bellina, which makes her even stronger. And a final unit for the wind units is Violet. Violet is one who's kind of been up and down on these lists. He went from like A to double S, and I feel like he's kind of settled in a good spot now in this S rank. He can hit insanely hard if you build him correctly and you skill him up. Also, he can be hard to kill. You put Dreamblade on him, and he can just constantly revenge your team. Any unit that can potentially solo you definitely deserves to be in this S tier. Moving on to the light dark units, we have Specimen Says, and I was torn last month moving him into double S. I think after some play, I think he's still he's very, very strong, but he's kind of niche, and he's gonna settle into this S rank, at least for now. Also, as you can see, it's a little more spread out at these top ranks than it was in previous months. He can obviously one-shot anybody in the game if they're stunned. Making comps where that's a thing is tricky. I tried to use him in RTA. The problem with that is that he just gets banned, and then you're kind of stuck with a bunch of people that CC and nothing else. So if you're going to try and use him in RTA, make sure you bring more damage dealers. If people start finding comps where he works, then he could potentially move up this list, but for now he settles in at S rank. Next up, we have DJ Bassar, and DJ Bassar was somebody that I really hated on when he first came out, and I refused to even put him on the list until I got a chance to see him a little more, just because I didn't like him so much. But that being said, he has turned out to be a very good first turn unit. Take that first turn, you can cleanse and put up immunity, and he isn't good everywhere, but where he's good, he's great. And I think people that have built him are really enjoying him. Moving on is C. Armin, our only 4-star on the S rank for the light units, and our last 4-star of the light units as well. Even though she got her huge nerf, she's still relevant. She's great for the damage reduction. You see her a lot in arena offense, you see her a lot in arena defense, you see her a lot in RTA, and I just can't. She's used so often, there's no way we can't put her up in this S rank. Now on to some of the more fun units in the game, and I grouped them all together. So I feel like this is the fun unit category, is the dark ML 4-stars. First we have CDOM. CDOM is one of the more fun units to use because you can use an AoE, it boosts her, she boosts herself and everybody else, and then nuke somebody. She also makes gearing your other units a lot easier. Although it does make people kind of lazy when it comes to gearing their units, because you gear a lot of people with only 50% crit rate and pure damage, and then they don't work anywhere else. So you have to be careful about that. But she is crazy strong and is a lot of fun to use. Up next is potentially my favorite unit to use in the entire game, and that is Assassin Collie. I've been loving her ever since I summoned her. I've been using her in Guild War non-stop. I used to use her in Arena before I developed more of a cleave team. But now with RTA, I use her every single time I go into RTA, and she's been a lot of fun. Speed-based damage that does huge damage, plus she goes stealth, is hard to kill, you can't focus her. She's good to go. She's basically an amped up version of Spectre Tenebria. Moving on, we have Champion Zerato, and I feel like some of you guys might want this guy higher on the list. I'm not sure. But he can be super annoying. If you don't bring in units that are going to be able to kill him without debuffing him, he could end up wiping your entire team. He can solo A11, he can self-sustain. If you have him on like a lifesteal set, it's perfect for him. He also has a defense break and attack break. He's very scary, so look out for him in RTA as well. I think he pairs very well with a lot of the bruisers, so Champion Zerato could even end up moving up this list at some point. Up next we have BBK, and BBK is probably the second best AoE nuke in the game, behind Judge Kize, and she also counters A. Vildred. So anyone that counters A. Vildred, like we talked about with Lilibet, is going to get a little bit of a boost just because he's so meta. Until they do something about him, she will always be relevant. You can put her on Oath Key if you don't want to worry about him being on Moonlight Dreamblade, but other than that, she's fantastic. She hits insanely hard, and she gets an extra turn when she kills somebody. And she also gets stronger as her HP goes down. I was in an RTA fight yesterday, and I hit her. She was the only one left. I had my entire team left. I thought I was going to kill her. She procced Moonlight Dreamblade. I left her with like 10 HP left, and I didn't get my next turn, and she proceeded to AoE nuke my entire team because she had no HP left. It was pretty crazy. Up next, you can't really see this. Can I move it? There we go. All right. Up next, we have Celestial Mercedes. And Celestial Mercedes, if BBK is the second best AoE nuke in the game, Celestial Mercedes is probably the third. She pairs very, very, very well with Basar Tywin. She's probably the best nuke in the Basar Tywin team, mainly because you can put her on a rage set and she can do just crazy damage. And if you have her on that limited artifact, Dizzy's artifact, Necro and Undying, she can take 2 turns in a row. Otherwise, you can just put her on what's the name of that artifact? I have it on her right now, and I don't even remember what it's called. There's an artifact that lets her proc extra damage when there's debuffs. So you can put her on that as well, and she'll proc extra damage as well. But she hits insanely hard. As long as you land your defense breaks, she will wipe the entire team. Caladra, that's what it's called. I got there. All right. Double S units. Now we're getting into the best units in the game. So we're into like the top 15 units in the game now. Starting off with Tywin, he is the best AoE defense breaker in the game. He's one of only 2 that have an AoE defense breaker that's 100% chance to land, but he can also burn into it and attack buff the unit coming after him, as well as an attack bar boost. If you have him and you don't have him built, he should be built. You can use him in Wyvern. He is part of what is probably the second best arena offense in the game right now, and definitely top tier, and nothing else really to say about him other than that he's one of the best units in the game. Up next, we have Crow. Crow, he's not really going to be good for RTA because he's damage based on HP. You could consider building him differently, however, which would make him very good for RTA. But you can't just build him the standard slow with 20 to 30k HP because that's not gonna cut it in RTA. By the time he gets a chance to do his skill 3, he'll be so squishy that you can just nuke him. But you could build him on a defense build. You could build him on a speed build. He has a lot of potential in other ways. He's also very good for Wyvern. I still use him as my main Wyvern tank, as he can do big damage as well as tank it for you. So very strong, and he's also very good in Guild War offense. Moving on, we have Sigrid. Now, I have a lot of the other single target damage dealers a stage lower than her, mainly because she is probably the hardest hitting, most versatile damage dealer in the game, and she's water. She's insane in Guild War. She can wipe entire teams on turn 1. If you Oxlots into her and then burn, she can literally kill the entire team. That, and she can basically one-shot the Wyvern boss. This girl does it all. She's crazy. I haven't really seen her use an RTA. If you are going to use her in RTA, I would assume it would be like with an Oxlots team, which would be crazy scary. It would be fun to watch, but you would need to burn into her, so I'm not sure how that would work. But either way, she's crazy, very, very strong, and is very deserving of this double S rank. And if you don't have her built, you should consider building her because her buff was ridiculous. Moving on, we have Lilius. Lilius is crazy right now. She's got the cleanse, she's a tank, she also has the team up on her skill 1, she does big damage, and she has a provoke with a self shield. It's just, she does it all right now, and she's kind of taken over. We talked about Cecilia earlier. Cecilia used to be in this rank, and she didn't get nerfed, but the only reason Cecilia moved down 2 spots was purely because of Lilius. Lilius has taken over the tank meta, and with Basar being so prevalent, she's sort of a Basar counter as well, in that if she is able to cut after Basar goes, then she can just cleanse all the all the buff blocks and boost their team past yours. Next up, we have Charles, and for those of you that do a lot of arena, Charles has become quickly one of the most annoying units in the game, as when he Elbrus procs, he's almost guaranteed to do his second skill as well and nuke one of your units. He can be either completely useless or he can clear your entire team by himself. So that alone earns him a spot on this list, but he can also be very good for A11, he can be good for Banshee, he can be good for Raid, he can be good for Guild War, offense, defense, he can be good for RTA. He's crazy multifaceted. He's also got a strip. He kind of does it all, and an attack buff. So you name it, Charles does it. He definitely deserves his spot on the list. He could even argue that maybe he should be in that top tier. But I think that top tier is just so strong that he's got to fall in at double S. Moving on to the light units, we have Judge Kize. So Judge Kize coming up next, the strongest AoE nuke in the game. If you have her, you're using her in Arena. Just Oxlot's Judge Kize, you can clear almost anything in Arena. I use it consistently. I've used it to get Legend for the last 3 months now. She's crazy strong. She's got a strip. She's got 2 AoEs. She's got a skill reset. She's got a defense break on her skill 1, although you'll probably never need it. And you can also technically use her in a lot of PvE as well. She's a good farmer. She can also help with A11. She can do raid. You name it, she can do it. She is top tier. And if it wasn't for all the revenges and all the revives and all that stuff, she would be triple S still. But the game is trending toward trying to stop people from having fun, quote unquote. So, trying to put in all these revenges or revives with like Vildred and Ken and Charles and Elena and all this stuff to try and stop it from being a speed meta has kind of reduced her a tiny bit. That being said, she's still insanely strong and is more than deserving of her double S rank. Up next, we have Faithless Lidica. Now, you can see she's kind of offset here. I wasn't sure where to put her. Every month, I have somebody where I'm not sure where I want to rank them. This month, it's Faithless Lidica. She's relatively new. I know a lot of people have even said to me recently that they slept on her. They didn't think she was going to be as good as she has been. She's been an RTA queen. I absolutely love her. She's my first pick in RTA all the time. Please don't use that against me. But I really, really, really like her. She's got the AoE strip. If you pair her with CDOM, it's insane because it gives CDOM a turn, and then Faithless Lidica does her skill 3 and can reset after she's stripped. So you could, if there's a reviver there, you could strip the revive and then just reset the reviver. Crazy strong, and if you have enough souls, you can burn into it, and it's irresistible as well. So the irresistible reset on a reviver is amazing and makes it very scary to fight against. Plus, she's got the boost as well, so she boosts your entire team. So all in all, very, very strong. I wish her base speed was a little higher, but at 114, it's still very high. And honestly, she'd probably be broken if it was any higher than that. Moving on to the dark units, we have Fallen Cecilia, and this is the first month that Fallen Cecilia hasn't been triple S. Mainly because Bissar has just done such a number on the meta that I had to drop her down one. She's still crazy. You could still argue that she's a triple S unit, but against certain comps, she just isn't as relevant as she used to be. But she had to be. Like, she either had to be nerfed or there had to be counters, and they brought out counters, so I have no problem with that. I still love my Cecilia. I use her all the time. She's on my arena defense, and she's still more than deserving of her double S rank. So Fallen Cecilia comes in as the best tank currently in the game. Up next, we have ML Ken. ML Ken was like the poster child for Epic 7 for the longest time. He's still insanely good. He's crazy for RTA because you better have a way to deal with him. And if you don't have a way to deal with him, then he's just going to solo you. And also with their ability to potentially ban the unit who you bring to deal with him, it could be really scary. So he's a must ban in a lot of cases. Unless you have two ways to kill him, then you should be fine. But otherwise, still insane for arena defense, insane for Guild War defense. I know a lot of people use him in Guild War offense as well. ML Ken, still one of the top 10 units in Epic 7. Moving on, we have Oxlots, and Oxlots is the only 4-star in the game at double S or higher. And I think the reasons speak for himself. He is part of the #1 arena offense. He's part of the #1 Guild War offense. He's part of the top RTA comps in the game. And being a 4-star and obtainable, it's hard to argue with. He's just that good. He has that 100% attack bar boost and with attack buff, and just allows your slowest unit to nuke whoever the hell he wants, and GG. So Oxlot's one of the scariest units in the game right now in RTA, more than deserving as well of his double S spot on the list. And now for the final 7 units, all triple S. Congratulations to them all. If you have any of these units, then congratulations to you. If you have all of them, then I'm jealous. But let's get into these. So first up, we have Seaside Bellina. Seaside Bellina has completely changed the entire meta. It changed the game from a Dizzy meta to a Bellina meta, and has shown us just how broken Rengar's special drink is. She is probably the most common first pick in RTA. It's between her and Vildred. I'm not honestly sure who would be the first one, but you see her everywhere. She's on every PvE team. She's on every arena defense. She's on every Guild War defense. She's on every arena offense. She's on every RTA offense. It's ridiculous. I think something's got to give with her. She's kind of too strong for a limited unit. If she was in the regular pool, you could argue it's okay. But being a limited unit, I mean, I do have her and I use her, but I still think they got to do something. Whether it's fixing Rengar's special drink, or making it just a normal artifact, or nerfing either that or her, I don't know. But they've got to do something because she's just too prevalent right now. Up next, we have Izaria, and Izaria is going to be crazy for RTA. I think people haven't really started using her yet, but she's already the center of attention and everything else. She's got a strip, she's got a reset, she's got 2 defense breaks. The idea of doing double anything in a game where you can't bring the same unit in the same comp twice. Think about bringing her in with a lot of the units on this list. Bring her in with Maid Chloe, do double, be able to do that revive like as often as you want. Same thing with Ruel. Be able to reset Vildred's skills. Be able to reset Krau's skill 3. Like it's nonstop. The ability to reset those skills makes her basically broken. People don't complain about her very much because she is kind of like a team up type unit. So you have to be very careful bringing her in RTA. Like you can't bring her in with like Tam Izaria because people are just going to ban the Izaria. You'd have to bring her in comps where they don't want to ban the Izaria. They have to ban something else, and then you could use her like crazy. So, but I think she's gonna be very, very strong, and already very good in a lot of different places in the game. You see her a lot in Guild War offenses, arena offenses, also in A11 3-man teams as well. And that's Izaria. So moving on to the next one. We have another unit who has changed the meta post-buff, and that's Basar. So Basar with his irresistible skill 3 strip with buff block and attack bar reduction is ridiculous. I'm sure if you don't already have him, you've been trying like crazy to get him. I know people went crazy on his banner to make sure they had him. He is the center of the #2 arena offense in the game right now, just behind Oxlots, but he's so strong that he's actually become a fixture on arena defense instead. So he's almost more prevalent on arena defense Actually, I would say he is more prevalent on arena defense than he is on offense now, which is crazy to think. I don't think anybody expected that to happen. But he's all over the place now, and he can hold Ancient Book, which means that you could burn into him and have that skill 3 irresistible. Basar, the number 1 strip in the game, and forever a fixture in RTA, which makes him triple S. All right, moving on to the light units. We have the 2 AoE Nat 5 ML revives. We have Maid Chloe and Ruel. Both of them are crazy. I used to have them double S, and then I moved Ruel up to triple S, and now with RTA, Maid Chloe is one of the most contested picks in RTA because of her attack buff and heal and revive. She's just super, super, super strong for RTA, and so now I think they both have to be up there. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be, and both crazy strong, OP broken units, and congratulations if you have them, because they're both triple S. Moving on, we have a Vildred. A Vildred is in 70% of the arena defenses currently in the top 100, and people use him on offense, people use him as their farmer, people use him in Guild War defense, people use him in Guild War offense, people use him in RTA, one of the top 2 most contested RTA picks. Everybody knows how broken he is on Dreamblade. If you haven't already built him and you have him, then you're missing out because he's ridiculous. I assume he's got to undergo some balance as well at some point because he's just that strong. I think him and Bellina are probably the top 2 units in the game right now. You could argue that they should be above Triple S just because of how strong they are, but that is a Vildred. Bringing us to the very last unit on a very long video, a Ravi. So a lot of people used to bug me about having Ravi at double S, and now with her buff, I don't have a choice. I got to move her up even higher. She is the scariest unit right now, because you can't kill her already. She already did insane damage if you actually showed her some love and skilled her up. She could already solo teams, and now you've given her the most broken skill in the game in a 100% attack bar revive. It's just absolutely ridiculous how strong she is now. She's all over the place in RTA. Not to mention arena defense, Guild War defense, Guild War offense. She's crazy. She's not quite on the level of a Bellina or a Vildred, but she's crazy strong now. And congratulations if you have her, because you're going to love her once you skill her up. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. This is a super long video. I am totally parched. I hope you guys appreciate it. I am going to do things a little bit differently in that we're only going to do these as it says first quarter 2020. So I'm only going to put out the tier list once every 3 months now. I will be posting a hard copy of this in the Discord if you want to check it out. So feel free to jump in the Discord. I will leave a link in the description and the comment section down below if you want to join the Discord and check out the hard copy, or just ask me any questions about the tier list. Otherwise, make sure you leave your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know who you think should be higher. Let me know who you think should be lower. As always, keep it clean. I know a lot of people get emotional over these tier lists. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. Have a very safe New Year if you plan on going out on New Year's. And yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you have a great end to 2019, and we will see you all in 2020. Bye for now.